The final chapter on JFK. Chapter 7, Segment 4, Procrustean Sniper's Bed.
Welcome to Chapter 7, Segment 4, the Procrustean Sniper's Bed. I will explain to you later what I mean by that. This segment will actually be divided up into two sections. The first section, we will be looking at Lee Harvey Oswald's training and where he should have shot if he had been using his skills he had learned from the United States Marine Corps. The second part of this segment, we're going to be looking at the area where the actual shooting occurred and comparing it to the area of the sniper's bed or sniper's den on the 6th floor on the day of the assassination. As we are all aware, Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly was up on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, and he killed President Kennedy. In the first chapter, first segment of this series, I discussed briefly the fact that Oswald, if he was up there, should have fired at Kennedy when the limousine was coming down Houston and turning onto Elm Street. From a practical standpoint, in knowing that Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine, a veteran, and knowing that from the time he was 15 to 17, he didn't study anything in school aside from his brother's Marine Corps books, the Marine Corps Manual, Rifle and Marksmanship Manual, and all the other Marine Corps books he could get his hands on, because Oswald, during that time, wanted to become a Marine, just like his older brother. Let's look at what he learned while he was in the Marine Corps. Number one, the Marine Corps had a rule that their soldiers would follow, and that would be they would test their weapon before they were required to use it in combat. In this case, it is clear that if Lee Harvey Oswald actually was up there and actually fired the Mannlicher Carcano, he didn't follow that rule of testing it beforehand, because if he had, he would have realized the gun was defective. So he apparently elected to ignore that Marine Corps rule. The second rule, which is clearly the most important, is that the best shot is at a stationary target, one not moving. Because if you can do that, you are not required to guess and have a lead on the target. If that cannot be done, you want to follow another situation of having no lead, and that is if the target is coming directly at you or directly away from you. In those situations, that is a shot recommended for Marine Corps soldiers, something that doesn't require a lead. If Oswald had followed that rule, he would have taken the shots at Kennedy as the limousine was coming down Houston, was turning in front of him on Elm, and was just starting to slide away at 2 miles an hour. By the way, when Kennedy's limo turned in front of the southeast corner of the Texas School Depository, it was only 91 feet away from that window. That's just a fraction over 30 yards. It has to be conceded that the best shot for any assassin on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository on November 22nd, 1963, to shoot at Kennedy in his limo would have been as the vehicle was coming down Houston and turning onto Elm. There were other locations throughout the plaza where there were similar spots where you could fire at the limousine without a lead. One such place would be at the Daltex building directly across the street from the Texas School Book Depository on Houston and Elm. Here's some photos of the rooftop, how it would look looking down Elm from the Daltex building. Again, no lead would be required from, I believe, the 6th floor of the Daltex building, and also a model of the ground floor from that same building built by the FBI. Beyond that, other locations where the limousine would be traveling either directly at the shooter or away from the shooter would be Dealey Plaza fence area. It's known as a grassy knoll, or over by the railroad tracks, or even the underpass by the railroad tracks. All of those would give a shooter a direct, straight-on shot. Out of this section, of this segment, all I want you to do is at least agree that Lee Harvey Oswald, if he was on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository on the day of the assassination and firing the shots, had ample opportunity to use his skill at firing at something coming at him or going away from him where no lead was required. And also, in the plaza area, there were other buildings and facilities where there was also no lead required, so a vehicle was coming away or towards the person shooting. That's all we have to agree on. Now, with that said, and I don't know if any of you remember, but in the first chapter, first segment, introduction, I talked about Exhibit 889, which was an FBI reconstruction of the assassination zone. And I said that there were not clear shots further down the street and there was no reason to look at that. And I'm sure a number of you probably said what I was saying wasn't true. So let's look at this video clip right here. I hate to tell you this, but that's not true. It's fake. And we will explain that in the next part of this segment. See you then.